Good morning, guys. It's great to see you today. It's Monday morning. My name is Dr. Rob, the Addiction Doctor. This is the Recovery Channel podcast. I hope you're having a great time wherever you are. Up for a good show today. And my co-host, as usual, Jennifer Lovely. How you doing, Jen?
I'm doing good. I feel like I should be sitting on those couches in our background, though. I like it.
Aren't they nice?
Yeah.
I might go and sit over there after. They're only this big, though, so I might have a problem. So how's your day been? I know you've had patience all morning, but has it been pretty good?
Yeah, my day's good. It's Monday. I slept pretty well last night, and all is well. All is well. Really positive weekend. I got to see some lovely girlfriends and just connect.
I saw that. Where was dinner or lunch? It was nice.
Yeah, Duke's in the city. I took the ferry off the island into the city, and I was a big girl, so that was fun.
Ooh, did you go with your passport or without your parents, I hope?
Yep, I did. I went with a passport and without my parents.
I love it. I love it. So I know what you're thinking. Who's on the show today? Woo!
I'm excited. I love
it. Gabe Howard is our guest today. Gabe Howard. Stick around, guys. This is going to be a good one for a couple of reasons. This guy looks like he knows what he's talking about. I love that. That's always a good start. And secondly, he has a great following as well. So we're up for a good show. If you want to type any questions or comments, guys, please do on Facebook, because that's where we're live on YouTube. Go on, Jen.
Anybody that names their book Mental Illness is an Asshole, immediately I want to be their friend, because I'm a big fan of curse words. So
exactly, yeah. I myself, I don't usually use them.
Oh, right.
That's why I got the tag, the Gordon Ramsay of the Addiction World.
Yeah,
I've not spoken to him yet since that. I remember sat in his house one day, Gordon's house, and I always remember this. And we're having something to eat and drink, just sandwich or something. And he says, "Hey, Rob, do you know I'm the best chef in the world?" And I said, "I don't know, because you can cook really well." And he says, "Shit, no, because I tell everybody I am."
Mm-hmm.
I was like, wow. So I started doing the same many years ago, and all of a sudden it stuck. So there's a psychological twist to that.
There is.
Hey, guys, this is the Recovery Channel podcast. My name is Dr. Rob Kelly, the Addiction Doctor, along with Jennifer Lovely. We have Gabe Howard on the show. Stick around, guys. We're back in 15 seconds. Hey, good morning, guys. If you just joined us, this is the Recovery Channel podcast. We're live on Facebook and YouTube. Hey, guys, good to see you, along with my co-host, Jennifer Lovely. Gabe Howard is in the house. Hey, Gabe.
Hey, how you guys doing? I am super excited to be here. So much so that I'm yelling. Like I just blew out like everybody's eardrums.
We like yelling. This is the Recovery Channel podcast. We're number one. We're the best. We are the business. But you got to shout to say that. Otherwise, people just don't listen to you when you're like,
nobody listens unless you're yelling.
Exactly. Yeah. And that was invented by my first wife. Thank you. Compliments to her.
Oh my God, we have the same first wife.
I know. It's unbelievable. I thought she was saying, for God's sake, get out of here. She was probably saying, for Gabe's sake, get out of here.
We'll never know unless we ask her, and I'm not making that call.
Hell, I've no way. That's all yours. I'll give you $1 million if you make that call.
That is hilarious, you guys. And it sounds like we all have something in common, because it was the same for my first husband. So there we go.
First husbands and first wives, I think it's like a trial run we get. It doesn't have to be perfect, it's not going to last long. It's a bit like a mint in your mouth. At first, it's really cool. After a bit, it's like, oh, God, I need to get another flavor.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, wow. We're going to get some good comments on that one, I'm sure. So Gabe, there's so many ways areas that I want to take this conversation. But first, give me 5 pivotal moments in your life.
5? Oh, wow.
The first wife is one.
Geez, I mean, I'm 43 years old. I think probably this is going to be tough, and I'm going to forget things, right? And I know you guys do this on purpose, but so I was adopted at 2.5 by my father. So he's not my biological father; he's just my real father. So I think that would be the first one, right? I mean, obviously, like getting a real dad from having, you know, the deadbeat who impregnated my mother. That's pretty significant. And so, you know, I got to move on from there. And I'm just going to count like the whole family in there. You know, I'm not going to mention like my brother and sister because I don't want to waste them. The next one would probably be graduating high school, just because it was so. I dropped out of high school. Then my grandparents brought me back, so I was delayed a year. It was very, very difficult for me to get through school. So graduating high school was definitely a very, very pivotal moment. The next one that I'm going to go with is like getting my big job. You know, I bought my first house at 20 years old.
Wow.
I was, you know, money wise, I was doing really, really well. And I don't put that in there because it gave me money. I want to be clear to everybody. I put that in there because it gave me health insurance, which gets me to my next pivotal moment of being diagnosed with bipolar disorder. Mm-hmm. And because I had that job, and because I had those resources, and because I had that money, and because I had achieved that success, I was able to get the resources that I needed to fight bipolar disorder. So the whole bipolar diagnosis was definitely number 4. And number 5 would have to be meeting my third wife, because that's the one that worked, right? That's when I got my shit together. That's when my life really started on the track that I was clearly in control of it. There's so many other things that could add to the list there, but if I kind of follow like that along, it sort of gets me where I am today. So I'm going to go with that theme.
I love that. Absolutely. Take me back to talk about the bipolar. How did you know, first of all, to contact a doctor? What were the signs with you, and how long did it take before you went, shit, there's something wrong here?
So I never went, shit, there's something wrong here. I thought I was fine. I can't be more clear on that. I woke up in a psychiatric hospital in the ward behind the locked doors. Everything that you can imagine that goes beyond that, and I was still pretty sure that this was all like wrong. Maybe by then, okay, I wasn't pretty sure by that time, but I was definitely still 50-50. It was very confusing. And even though the information seemed correct, and I trusted doctors and everything that happened, there was still this part of me that looked at the other patients that were in the hospital and thought, well, they're crazy. Like I'm okay, but there's something wrong with them, clearly. Even though, of course, we're all in the same place, there was still this idea that I was somehow better than them. Yeah, I don't think I caught on for a while.
Well, there's this thing that first of all, my ex-husband, my first one, was always telling me I was crazy, right? And then my kids called me crazy. And there's this word that we use out there in the world. You're crazy. You're crazy. Now, there's this scene in Revolutionary Road where, if you ever saw that movie, did you ever see it? Okay, where a guy comes out of a psych ward and he is speaking, but he speaks the utter truth. He sees everything that nobody else sees. And so tell me, was that for you? Was that similar to you having bipolar disorder? Or in the past, were you able to cut through all the bullshit and say the things and see the things that maybe the normies didn't see?
No, I saw everything wrong. Look, I did see different. I want to be clear, like the lens of bipolar disorder has definitely changed the way that I reacted to the world. But there's this general notion that that's always positive, right? Yeah. It's like, oh, you see the world differently, so that must be good. But you recognize that every pendulum swings both ways. So did I see some things differently that ended up benefiting me? Yeah. There was something that made 16-year-old Gabe think, I am the greatest technological wizard in the world, and start a company. And that company got me on the radar of bigger tech companies that hired me. When I was hired by the company that I was working for, when I was diagnosed, I was the youngest person in the room by a decade.
Wow.
And that's so, yeah. Could I claim that the grandiosity and the mania of bipolar disorder got me there? Yeah, I can. But yeah, when everybody was telling me to stop, that you're hurting me, that you're a bad friend, and that you're a terrible person, the bipolar also told me, they're just trying to drag you down, buddy. Cheat on your wife with reckless abandon. It's your right to lie to people. When everybody was telling me not to jump off the roof, I was like, they're cheering me on. And when everybody was like, you need to save some money, don't spend it all, I was like, they're partying with me. So sure, there was probably a couple of good things that happened there, but I gotta tell you, way more bad things come from not seeing reality than ever good. People just like to talk about the good. It's sort of like that silver lining. Oh, you're bipolar, but it's okay because you've got this benefit. Yeah, that benefit is largely bullshit.
Yeah, most of the time. I mean, I go through that sometimes. They go, "Oh, look at you, look at you, look at you, Dr. Rob, you're this, that, and everything." Yeah, at what price? Was you there at my lowest point? Was you there when I had to give my kids away? Was you there when I went Christmases and birthdays crying because I couldn't see my kids? Was you there? All you see is what's here now, or what you perceive to be my disease. You don't actually know. So I'm going to take you back, Gabe, to the worst time in your life, the lowest point of the lowest point. I mean, I know if I'm thinking correctly, there must be loads of them, but give me one that you still struggle a little bit with, or when things go bad, your mind goes straight back there again.
You are right. There's so many of them, and it's hard to know which one to pull out. But I think probably the lowest point, the one that keeps me up at night, is I got in a very public argument with a woman that I was dating. And I want to be very, very clear: no violence, no violence whatsoever. However, I am 6'3". I weighed 250 pounds, and she was 5'4" and weighed $150, maybe 150. So I'm 100 pounds bigger than her. I'm broad shoulders, and I'm screaming at her on the way to a hockey game. I mean, it's like spit is coming out of my mouth. I'm yelling and swearing, and the more she tried to calm me down, there really is that joke. The worst thing to say to somebody who is, calm down has never worked in the history of ever. This was remarkably embarrassing for her to just have this man, just screaming at her. And we're at a hockey game. We're on our way to this game, so there's people everywhere, and people started coming over to rescue her because they thought at any minute I was going to attack her. And I completely understand why they saw that. And when she tried to get away from me, I chased her. So that keeps me up at night because, my God, I did this in front of children. I did this. Not only did I hurt her, but what example was I setting for all of the families that were witnessing this grown man scream at this grown woman? That there are many. But hurting somebody else, they're always going to rank at the top. And that was, not only did I hurt somebody very deeply, I did it very publicly. And it's embarrassing. And I don't think that I will ever forgive myself for that one.
I would love to give you permission to forgive yourself for that one.
Here's the remarkable thing. So would she. She tells me, she is still in my life, and she tells me over and over again, Gabe, you were sick. This would be no different than if you had the flu and you vomited all over me in public. Like, I imagine that would be very embarrassing. Or if you passed out and just lost control of your bowels or your bladder, which happens in physical illness, right? We've all seen somebody have a stroke, and I imagine that would be very embarrassing to reflect back on as well. And everybody be like, look, you were sick, don't worry about it. But there's just something about it that every time I get close to forgiving myself, I think, you know what? people know what a stroke looks like. So they would know that I urinated myself because of a stroke. That none of those people watching knew that it was bipolar disorder. It just looked like abuse. And now these kids who are just trying to take in a hockey game had to witness some man go apeshit on some woman who was desperately trying to get away. Like, what did I model for them? And then I'm right back to hating myself again. And that's problematic.
I love this guy, Jen. I love this guy. Guys, stick around. We're going to go to commercial break. Gabe Howard is on the show. Some good shit right there. Give me 1 second, guys. We'll be straight back with you. Welcome back, guys. This is the Recovery Channel podcast. We have Gabe Howard on the show. My name is Dr. Rob Kelly. I'm the addiction doctor, and Jennifer Lovely, our co-host as usual. Fascinating so far, Gabe. Fascinating. And the depth and the way you speak about it all makes sense. I mean, that horrible, situation you just talked about at the hockey game. God, you took me right back to some of my, times when I used to do that. So we've gone from the worst time. Talk to me about the best time in your life so far. What was that look like?
There's, once again, like with everything, depending on my mood, there's probably a couple of different answers to this. But I'm sort of going to base the answer on maybe like a proud moment. I married my high school sweetheart, and that turned out horrifically. I would be willing to wager that she's still mad at me all these years later. And in fact, we're from a small town, so I know that she is. And then I got married again, and that marriage also crumbled. Then I was engaged and getting ready to move in with a woman, and that one crumbled. And there was infidelity and dishonesty and distrust. And the bottom line is my romantic relationships were a mess. They were just a mess, and they were just a mess. And then I had hypersexuality, so I just had all of these, extra relationships that were also largely codependent and just, based on availability. Quite frankly, I wasn't making any good decision. I was taking risks, and that was just a real nightmare. I just want to paint a picture that I don't think that I ever coupled with somebody who I should have coupled with. Ever. And finally, through treatment and medication and understanding and coping skills and time, I realized that I was seeking out these very volatile relationships, these very dramatic relationships, and frankly, these unsustainable relationships. And I did a lot of work on myself to figure out, like, what kind of relationship do I want? I want what my grandparents have, meaning I want like a stable, boring ass relationship. And that was a tough decision to make. And then I met her. I've been married 8 years now. We've been together 9 years. And if you would have known Gabe, when I brought her home, everybody was like, yeah, she's going to leave. There is just no way in hell this woman's going to tolerate this idiot. And frankly, the best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. So as much as I want to be like, why didn't you believe in me? Shit, I didn't believe in me either. And then we got married. And of course, we haven't lived happily ever after. We fight all the time. Nobody still knows what's for dinner. And, there's obviously issues that come up, but they're handled so maturely. And people that look at our lives are just like, wow, can you believe Gabe became this boring married guy? And I'm proud of myself for becoming this boring married guy. It's what I always wanted. I just couldn't achieve it because I just self-sabotaged the whole time. So that's probably my proudest moment, was getting a stable, reasonable person to see me as a stable, reasonable person, marry me, and then hold that together for 8 years and counting.
Yeah, I can totally relate to that, actually. And people are always still looking for that excitement in us, right? Because we always provided it. Yeah. One of the things that I'm really aware of is that in the coaching world in the work that I do, and the work that Dr. Rob does, and the work probably, frankly, that you do, is people want to be, what we're doing is witnessing them. We're allowing them to be seen. And one of the things that's missing, and whether it be mental health or even, you can put addiction in there as well, or any mental fracture that you want to call it, is they want to be witnessed. They want to be seen. So having a book called Mental Illness, how do you help? Yes. How do you help them be seen?
So first and foremost, I like what you said there. I have this phrase that I love. It's called alone in a crowded room. People are like, Gabe, you were surrounded by everybody. You never stayed home. You found people constantly. You fell asleep lying next to a whole bunch of strangers. Like how, what do you mean you were lonely? When people hear me that like have known me my whole life, hear me describe my 20s as lonely, they're like, this makes no sense. You were married, you had coworkers, you constantly went out, you just had friends everywhere. How were you lonely? Yeah, there was no meaningful connection in any of that. I was the guy who showed up, and when I showed up, people gravitated toward me and people liked me, but make no mistake, none of those people would have come and helped me move. And in fact, when I was admitted to the hospital, when I was diagnosed, when I was sick, yeah, suddenly all those hundreds of people were nowhere to be found. So clearly, I was not seen or understood. There was no meaningful connection in that lot, and that's one of the big things that I think I want people to understand about me. Like I don't want you just to talk to me. I want you to know me. I want you to respect me. I want you to like me. And I'll take pretty much like any of those things, right? Like, you don't have to like me, but please respect me. Like, that's really important, right? Like, you don't have to agree with me, but please think that I am valuable as a person, or try to understand where I'm coming from. And I think a lot of people with mental illness, not only do they think that people don't understand them, they recognize that people aren't even trying. So many people will just say things like, mental illness is fake, or, oh, what bullshit are you selling? Or, ugh, emo, just he's so lazy. And that just stymies people from seeking help or having any meaningful discussion to getting to the next steps, right? If your family sees you as lazy, you're not going to sit them down and say, hey, I don't know how to be not lazy. You're going to hide it from them because you don't want to be judged. And as it turns out, that laziness is not laziness at all. It's clinical depression or bipolar disorder or schizophrenia or just whatever. But you never move off of that because you're just all alone, knowing that people don't respect you. And now you're cut off. And that's a dangerous place to be.
Let me ask you something, because I saw a picture of you. I don't know when it was, but you were kind of weighing in over 500 pounds, probably about 550, if I'm going to guess.
About 550.
First, two-part question. First of all, did your bipolar play into that? And secondly, how did you lose all that weight?
So the answer to the first question is, yeah, absolutely, bipolar disorder played into it, just unequivocally. Coping skills are coping skills are coping skills. And I think society now understands the concept of co-occurring disorders or comorbid disorders. That's where somebody with mental illness self-medicates. And I'm just saying self-medicate. I'm not putting in parentheses because I don't believe in it, but I just want everybody to understand, like, that's the term, self-medicate. People with severe and persistent mental illness or trauma self-medicate with drugs and alcohol. Like we're starting to get that concept. Like, what drives alcoholism? What drives addiction? And it's the idea of numbing the pain of trying to get through our mental illness or trauma. So just pull out drugs and alcohol and put in food. Trying to numb the pain with something is the concept there. It's not the thing, it's the act. And in my case, My family loves food. We celebrate everything with food. Holidays, birthday parties, celebrations. Even my father was a truck driver, so he was only home 3 nights a week. And out of those 3 nights a week, maybe only a couple of those nights could dad have dinner with us because of his work schedule. So even when dad could have dinner with us, mom would make a more elaborate meal. This is a dad meal. We got like fish sticks and macaroni and cheese, but when dad was there, we got like turkey and mashed potatoes. Even many families, Sunday brunch where, the family cooks a bigger dinner. You go out to dinner, it's amazing. So I associated that with very happiness. So if you're having trouble regulating your emotions, you're very depressed, you don't know what to do, eating birthday cake reminds you of happier times. Being reminded of happier times when you're depressed is very powerful. So yes, it is not surprising that the foods that I picked to binge on, to eat, reminded me of some positivity in childhood that I was desperately lacking now as an adult. So yeah, just replace alcohol with food. Boom. As far as how I lost the weight, I had gastric bypass, which helped tremendously. And, everybody calls that the easy way out. I want to put like a hard stop on anybody that says that. Having your, getting cut from here all the way down, I can't even get up high enough, from here, splayed open, having your guts rearranged, going through dumping syndrome, vomiting, being on a liquid diet for 6 weeks, taking 6 weeks to recover, 4 days in the hospital, not being able to break down high fructose corn syrup or sugars and fat. And I threw up on my mother-in-law because 2 weeks after surgery, because I didn't know what was going on. This is not the easy way out. Also, I'm not insulting anybody else that got gastric bypass, but in addition, before I got gastric bypass, I went through 6 months worth of eating disorder therapy. I went through 6 months worth of nutritional counseling where I learned, this is going to blow your mind, that a muffin has more calories than a donut. And I thought that a muffin was a diet food and that donuts were not a diet food. Yeah, it turns out they're both equally bad for you. And in fact, the muffin is denser and has way more calories and way more sugar. But I was dumb. And, there we go. It took a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of effort, and a $100,000 surgery. But I did it. I did it. And that was, 15 years ago. So the success rate for keeping the weight off is about 20%. To get to 10 years is about 20-25%, and I'm in that pile. So I've beaten the odds. Knock on wood. I'm not taking that for granted at all.
Talk to me about the hypersexuality. How did you realize that, besides the fact that you were having lots of sex with probably lots of different people, which was the first obvious step, but how did you realize that was making an impact in your life and it was actually you were having consequences from it? How did you?
So there's a couple things that I want people to understand, right off the bat, about hypersexuality. Hypersexuality in the movies is always portrayed as having a lot of sex with very beautiful people. And it's always like hot, beautiful, like hot tubs and showers and pools and all the men have 6-packs and are glistening and all the women are just beautiful makeup that for some reason the shower doesn't mess up, just walking around in high heels. Just that is just bullshit. Get that idea out of your mind. Now picture a bunch of desperate people willing to do anything it takes to reach an end. The number one thing about hypersexuality that I think people don't understand is that it takes something good and wrecks it. It wrecks it. This is not good sex. This is not quality sex. This is quantity sex. And it's just so devastatingly awful when you get to think about it, because you're not looking for things that make you happy. You're just looking for a means to an end. And 9 times out of 10, the person that you are having sex with feels the exact same way. they're just desperate to check this off their list as well. So you basically got two disconnected people who are having sex not to enjoy the sex, but just to complete an act so they can check it off their list. And also, during hypersexuality, even when you're having sex, your mind is like, okay, who's the next sex? Like, where am I going to? So you're not even in the moment. You're literally having sex right now, and all you can think about is, well, shit, once this is over, what am I going to do? How is this going to work? Like, well, now she's off the list clearly, so who's next? That's just so mind-numbingly awful to think about. And then the final piece that I want to let people know is, for some reason, when it comes to hypersexuality, people don't understand that hypersexuality includes masturbation. And this is just the most depressing thing ever. This just chronic self-stimulation all alone by yourself. It's like people are like, oh, you're having a lot of sex. That's awesome. No, I'm sitting at home alone in front of a TV or a computer or whatever, just so desperately alone over and over and over. It's not pleasurable in even the slightest. It's just a compulsion. It's an addiction. It's not like you even get both. Well, but you have like quantity sex and you have quality. No, the hypersexuality overrules quality. The quality is now gone. It's nothing but awful. Frankly, once you get over it, you got to start looking back and you think, wow, I was not even like good at it. Like talk about like I was selfish. It was all about me. It's just people tend to think about it as normal sex that you have more often. It's not. Yeah. It's not. It's like eating birthday cake off the ground that's been stepped on. Just because there's an unlimited amount doesn't make it good. It's awful, and it ruins it.
It's like an alcoholic, As soon as he's halfway down one bottle, he's thinking about the next bottle.
Exactly.
It's crazy.
It's guys, never enough.
This is Recovery Channel Podcast, guys. We have Gabe Howard on the show. Hang around. We've got some more questions for Gabe. Hey guys, welcome back to the show. My name is Dr. Rob, the Addiction Doctor, Recovery Channel Podcast. We're on the way. Jennifer Loves, my co-host, and we're with Gabe Howard today. Thank you for joining us, Gabe. If you've missed the show so far, this has been an awesome one. Stick around for the next 15 minutes. You're going to really enjoy. Gabe, let's talk about suicide. How many attempts? How many thought patterns? How down was you? I mean, let's talk about that for a second.
I thought about suicide as far back as I can remember, and people challenged me on this. They're like, well, when you were 10 years old, you thought about suicide? Yeah. And then they're like, well, wait a minute. When you were 5 years old, you thought about suicide. And I'm like, listen, I thought about suicide every single day for as far back as I can conceivably remember as a child. And for some reason, they get like belligerent and stubborn at this point. And they're like, so even when you were happy, you thought about suicide? Yes. I thought today is the day that I'm not going to kill myself. It was ever present in my life forever. And here's the thing about something being ever present in your life. You think it is normal. I thought that everybody thought about suicide every day. When I looked at my peers, my parents, my grandparents, coworkers, just whatever age I was, when I looked around the room, I thought, hey, all of them are weighing the pros and cons of life or death too. And what I thought is since I knew that the majority of people weren't dying by suicide, I thought, well, people are just better at it than me. They're better at life. They're happier. They've figured it out. They've got the secret. I'm garbage and they're good. And that's why I want to kill myself, because after all, I have ascertained that I am worthless, and it's self-corrective in the universe. My mind is telling me, dude, you shouldn't be here. Do something about it. And nobody challenged this. No, but I was 25 years old, woke up in a psychiatric hospital, and I was like, what the hell just happened? And the night before, somebody told me that wanting to kill yourself was not normal. And I called her a liar. In fact, I looked at her like she was nuts. And I don't even know what happened. My entire world got, flipped, turned upside down, to quote Will Smith. That's what it was. I had no attempts, as in I never, tried and got medical treatment to survive. The nice thing about bipolar disorder, and I'm making nice in air quotes for a moment, but the nice thing about bipolar disorder, it's very cyclical. So through, it's very spectrumy, it's very cyclical. So doing absolutely nothing will cause a cycle. This worked to my advantage, number one. So I'd get really, really depressed. I'd have a plan. I'd be ready to do it. And the illness would just naturally move. That was number one thing. Number two thing, I have good parents. They didn't let me, as a teenager, as some of this was, I don't want to say the worst, but different. They wouldn't let me just sit in my room for weeks at a time. Even depressed, they would drag me to the dinner table. They would check on me. They would be involved in my life. And I did have a lot of people around. For better or for worse, they were around. So this provided some sort of external stimulation, not to make me not want to do it, but not to give me the opportunity. And big asterisks right there. I think that's why I never did it. I honestly, I don't know. That's like my best guess as to why I never had an attempt. But I got really, really close, and that's when I was taken to the hospital. I was admitted for suicidality. I was ultimately diagnosed with bipolar disorder, and that's story begins there, doesn't it?
It does. And tell me something. Addiction is the only self-diagnosing brain disease, if you will, that they get to decide if they're an alcoholic or not, right? Or I am this or I'm not. But in the right conditions, the addicted brain will come out and it'll get triggered, and then there we go down the joyful ride of addiction. Is bipolar disorder or mental illness similar? Are you born with the brain that way, and under the right conditions it will come out, or is it just this way and you're on the roller coaster ride?
So isn't this a fascinating social conversation, right?
It is.
For example, let's say that tomorrow I check into a hotel and I trash it. I trash the hotel. I set the bed on fire. I'm going to get arrested, and vandalism, just all kinds of charges are going to happen to me. Yet, if on the exact same night in the exact same place, the local rock band, not even local, let's go, the rock band who happens to be touring in my city trashes an entire floor. I mean, they just wipe out all the rooms on the top floor. Like 18 beds are on fire. It's a mess. The headlines are, Rolling Stones threw a great party. Like, well, I destroyed one little room on the third floor. They destroyed the top floor. They're popular. I'm garbage. Why? And that's, of course, because of social perception. We see it play out in our elections. Our children call somebody a name. It's horrible. Our president calls somebody a name. He's a savvy politician fighting for the American way. Look, if you're calling strangers names, that's bad. That's bullying. But we don't have this general agreement on that. We have decided that when some people do it, it's okay, and when some people do it, it's not. This makes it difficult, extraordinarily difficult to answer that question. Because the reality is if I were rich, I'd be eccentric. If I were poor, I'd be a criminal. And if I were middle class, I'd be diagnosed with bipolar disorder. There's no definitive test. You are close as far as the science is concerned, which is some people have the gene, for lack of a better term, for like post-traumatic stress disorder. But since they never have trauma, they never go to war, they never get robbed, they never get in a car accident, it's never triggered, and they live a happy life. Other people are extraordinarily resilient, but again, because nothing happens to them, they never have to prove that resiliency. I do not have post-traumatic stress disorder. I might go to war and be fine. I might go to war and have PTSD for the rest of my life. We won't know until Gabe is in a war zone. But I don't want to find out. I want to be very, very clear. We don't know why some people can handle it and other people can't. But the science is leaning toward some people will have the gene for depression, bipolar disorder, and it will just never manifest itself in a meaningful way. But some of that is going to be dependent on their circumstances. Again, Mick Jagger is allowed to destroy hotel rooms and nobody cares. Gabe Howard is not.
And that's the state of the society right now. It's, first of all, we don't know enough about bipolar. We don't know enough about even clinical depression, going back to the 60s. We don't know enough about it, and it's going to be years and years and years before. The only thing we do know is, like Jen says, alcoholism, not addiction, is the only self-diagnosis in the world, because when you put alcohol in your body, something happens to my brain that doesn't happen to yours. So that's the only thing we know. The other stuff, we can't trace back hereditary stuff because, 2-3 generations ago, mum was just a bit crazy and stuck her in a psych ward. They didn't have actually a name for it until he researched it and researched it and researched it. And then once you find out and put a label on it, what causes that? Well, little Johnny had this and he come out with this, but his brother Billy had the same thing. So there's so many different ways we can go with this. I don't think, not in my lifetime anyway, are we going to find out, A, what causes it, B, what's different in my brain, even though it is hereditary, and how come my brother hasn't got it, even though it can skip a generation. So tell me, what is the best moment of your life? Absolute best, above marriage, above meeting a girl, above everything else, where you stand today. What makes Gabe happy today?
Oh, like the what makes me happy today or the best moment of my life? I mean, that's those are two very different questions, aren't they? These are hard because whatever one I pick, I'm going to get like an angry email. Sometimes there's these moments, and they're just completely unplanned. They're not what you would think they were. I used to be a fundraiser, and I worked for a national charity, and it was my job to throw the holiday party. And I threw the holiday party, and it was fantastic. Just so you know, the holiday party was fantastic. And for whatever reason, as these things go, because it was later in the evening, it was during the week when we had it, everybody left, and I had to clean up by myself. Now, this is not a bad thing. I'm not mad by myself. We rented the hall. I just had to break down all the tables and drag them over. And so just picture this hall. It's decorated. It just had 150 people in it. It's 10 o'clock at night on a Wednesday. It's the Christmas season. It's snowing outside, and there's these giant windows. And we had a little radio that was just on a cycle of Christmas music. And I'm completely alone in this building. It's my job to put the key in the drop box when I'm done. And I've been carrying tables. And I sit down on the last chair, and I have a bottle of water because, tables are heavy. And Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas is playing. The Christmas tree is still lit. The other light is still lit. I look out the window, and it's snowing. I'm all completely alone. This song is playing. And I actually think, the world's not so bad. It's just quiet. And I just sat there for a couple of minutes, and this happened 10 years ago. I don't know what it was about that moment. I don't know if it was the satisfaction of a job well done, the snow, the Christmas lights, the quiet, the moment of reflection on everything that I had achieved, all of the people who were like, "Oh, Gabe, we'll see you next year. We love you through the night." Or hell, if that song is just haunting to me. That was just a really good moment. And it's not, like you said, it's not children being born. It's not marriage. It's not a party. It's not an award. It's not buying a house. It's not winning the lottery. It's a damn Christmas song after they made me break down 30 tables all by myself, and I was exhausted.
I call those beauty moments.
It is. It's just beautiful. And I have no idea why.
Yeah, I love that. one of the things as we wrap up, one of the things that I'm really present to in all the work that I've done in the world, in my own personal suffering, is that inside of our suffering, there's something that exists, that lurks, that wants to be expressed. So when you look at your life so far, 43 years, Gabe, I mean, what wanted to be expressed? What was the suffering that allowed a full expression of fully who Gabe is in the world?
Still to this day, I don't really feel like people see me. You know, they see me as loud, they see me as gregarious, they see me as charismatic. And those things are true. I can't really find any fault with them, but they don't see me as lonely. They don't see me as shy. They don't see me as somebody who suffers from, paranoia or anxiety or who is scared. They don't see me as somebody that lays awake at night and worries about being alone. In their mind, Gabe makes friends easily and has a huge amount of confidence. And in reality, I make friends very slowly. It's difficult for me to trust people. I don't have a lot of close friends, and I'm not at all confident. I am a fake it till I make it, and I haven't made it yet. You can have really. Am I confident that I'm right about my mental health advocacy? Absolutely. Am I confident that I'm a good public speaker? Absolutely. Am I confident that people should listen to me? No, not even remotely. And the thing that gets me through it is I feel that people have a choice. I am confident that I can deliver my message. I am not confident that people should listen to me, but that's on them, right? It's up to them to decide. My responsibility ends at the delivery, but that's not how people see it. People think that Gabe knows that people should follow him. No, I don't. Gabe knows that he's right. No, I don't. Gabe knows that he's standing on solid ground. No, I don't. Gabe sleeps soundly because he's in the right. I don't sleep soundly at all. I don't know where that came from. Yeah, that's kind of lonely.
That's kind of the platform that we put ourselves on. Remember a couple of things. I was with Robbie Williams, the number one artist, best-selling artist in the world in England. And he was stood on stage and he's just about to go on and the guy's in tears. And the guy thinks that there's 100,000 people there, by the way. He has more platinum records than the Beatles. He thinks that he's not worthy to go on. And he's crying because he's scared. Once he steps out on the stage, the musician takes over and he storms every time. So I often think that, I was walking past the break room at work once and I heard one girl say to another, "Wow, did you see what Dr. Rob did this morning with that guy? The guy coming, he was shattered. He walked out in confidence. He's amazing." And the other girl said, "I know, but have you told him that?" And this is what she said, Gabe. Nah, he already knows. I don't know. We don't know. And it's all about lifting people up and telling them exactly what it is. So I want to finish on this. Me and Jennifer want to acknowledge you for what you do. If you think for a second that we pluck a name out the air for someone to come on, you are mistaken, my good man. We have a researcher out there that does all that. I want to say to you, and I'm going to give Jen the opportunity to tell her a bit, but I'm going to say to you off the bat straight away that what you do is amazing. And the person you are amazing. And I don't know whether you know it or not, but you are affecting and changing hundreds of thousands, if not millions, by the time everyone tells each other, of people on a daily basis. And it's my job and it's Jen's job to let you know how amazing you really are. Because like you said, people think we already know. We don't. So I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for what you do, Gabe. And I think you're an absolute freaking superstar. And I'll let Jennifer take you out.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Gabe, for being on this show and also for sharing your story. You are courageous and brave and your heart. You have so much heart. And the thing that I'm really present to and the thing that I love more than anything in the work that I do is human resiliency and the fact that you can have all of these things. You could be 550 pounds and no longer be, that you could be bipolar and have the awareness to not only speak about it, but actually help yourself, that you can go through marriages and talk about it and not be, on the floor. I mean, like the courage that it has taken to overcome what you have is astounding. And I am really grateful to know you. I love the name of your book. Mental Illness is an Asshole. Buy it. Everyone buy it and read about it. And this conversation that we're having about mental illness, about addiction, is an important conversation. And it's actually more important, I will say, than any conversation politically out there. You are a human being, first, and you are a courageous one. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much, everybody. I really appreciate, my book is cheaper on my website. So if you go to gabehoward.com, I can sign it and I'll throw in a whole bunch of swag. And inexplicably, it's cheaper there than it is on Amazon. Amazon jacked up the price. I don't know what they're doing, but you can still buy it on Amazon if you don't trust me. I completely understand not wanting to give your credit card to a weird guy you met on the internet.
Hey, last time I did that, I got 6 months inside. Guys, Gabe Howard is on the show. Don't forget to visit his website, gabehoward.com. Such an interesting guy, such an amazing guy. Thank you so much, Howard. We'll be back right after this, guys. Hey guys, welcome back to the show. This is the Recovery Channel podcast. If you've just joined us, where the hell were you?
Yeah.
You missed a great guest. You missed a great show as usual. But hey, awesome guy, Jen.
That was amazing. His story is amazing. I really, really enjoyed listening to his life story. I mean, as I do everybody, but it's fascinating how people, what they can overcome.
It is, yeah. And the other thing as well, what I loved what he brought up is that not knowing, and everyone thinks that you do this and everyone thinks that you have an amazing life. What some person said to me was, God, your life is amazing and you're always happy. And my reply was, follow me home. Yes. See what it's like in a daily life of Rob Kelly. It's like, it's no different to yours, only I'm more miserable. I get more down. And some days I can't get out of bed because I'm so depressed, but people think we're all superstars and our life, we got our shit together. And it's like, let me tell you a secret, guys. From the people I've worked with and the people that Jen's worked with, rich or poor, black or white, nobody's got a freaking perfect life. Everyone's got their demons, and people forget that.
They do. And our work as human beings is to understand our demons and work with them, right? We're not going to extricate. It's like, what wolf are we going to feed today?
Exactly. I love that. Yeah. I love that. Yeah. Don't forget, guys, recovermecoaching.com is the place to be. And just on a side note, if you come over and join either myself, robkelly.com or jenniferlovely.com, you can start with us individually, but you'll always end up on the Recover Me Coaching because it's so affordable and you'll get so much out of it. And we're changing the world. None of 1940s and 50s bullshit from textbooks. We're talking about 2020, 2021, 22, 23. Where do you want to be in the next 5 years? Where do you want to be in the next year? Hey, where do you want to be next month? This is life-changing on a daily basis. So, guys, I want to thank you for joining us. As usual, the Recovery Channel podcast is live on Facebook and live on YouTube. And we have a new producer. We have a new Juliet, her name is. She's going to be doing some amazing things. It's going to be all the platforms. And she's just an amazing person. So watch out. As from next week, our new producer is going to be awesome. And we're going places. So for me, guys, I'll say thank you and I'll see you next time.
Yes. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye, guys.